yahoo.com. All right, we are back. All right, what do you got for us, Dillon?
Well, guys, we might as well get into next week's matchups, right, and see who we feel confident about and see who we're a little queasy about sticking in our lineups. Some of the top quarterbacks that I like, you have Lamar Jackson going to Cincinnati, taking on that soft Bengals defense. Drew Brees takes on the Falcons at home in that divisional matchup. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm sure it's going to make for a great football game. And it's also going to make for some great fantasy football numbers for Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, but that's a bonus for me. You have Russell Wilson with a pretty tough matchup at San Francisco. I'm not necessarily saying to sit him, but you definitely have to temper your expectations. Russell's been shown to be a cheat code. He's been everything I thought he wouldn't be this year. Coming into the season, I would have told you not to draft Russell Wilson high, despite him being the number one fantasy QB right now. You had him coming in with Tyler Lockett as his number one option, a rookie on the other side, and an offensive coordinator who said he wanted to run. And now you have Russell Wilson simply being Russell Wilson. When plays break down, he can scramble around, find his guys like Tyler Lockett, who's perfect for this system, and make plays. However, this week I would be looking at taking a gander at the waiver wire to see if there's a better matchup out there than the Seahawks at San Fran. And another guy I think is worth sitting with Adam Thielen, already ruled out for this game. You have Kirk Cousins at Dallas. I think it's going to be an ugly play. Might even be an ugly play for Dalvin Cook. We'll have to see if Cook can be getting it done in that matchup. But Kirk Cousins is a guy who has been putting up decent numbers, not someone you should stick in your lineup next week. Going into the running backs, you have the matchup proof, Christian McCaffrey, taking on your cheeseheads and the Packers. You guys better watch out for this guy. He's pretty good. You also have Josh Jacobs getting it done lately, getting in the work. Despite the shoulder injury, they've been giving him the shot every week. He seems to be responding to it pretty well. And he takes on the LA Chargers this week, who, despite their performance against the Packers last week, otherwise have been pretty susceptible to the run. Also, watch out for Derrick Henry and Marlon Mack. They could have big weeks as well, as Henry takes on KC and Marlon Mack against that awful Miami defense. Indy might be forced to lean on the run just a little bit more with Brian Hoyer under center. Guys, I think you should sit or at least consider streaming someone else. We talked about Russell Wilson. We might as well mention Chris Carson, who didn't have a good game at all against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, like we talked about Sunday morning, are surprisingly good against the run. Well, so are the San Francisco 49ers, and they take on the Seahawks. You have Devonta Freeman at New Orleans. This is a scenario where, even though the Falcons are going to be passing the ball a lot, trying to keep pace, this New Orleans offense with Dave's favorite player, Drew Brees. You're welcome. Devonta Freeman, someone you should temper your expectations again this week against this New Orleans defense, which is just so solid. They're built for us playoff push. I won't be surprised to see them in the Super Bowl. Another guy who is going to be pretty tough to start yet again, despite where you drafted him, the same song dance with Joe Mixon. Taking on Baltimore. Baltimore has been lights out on defense, and Jolson hasn't gotten anything done, whether it's through the air or around the grid this season. So, not that you need me to tell you, this is another week to not play Joe Mixon. Moving on to receiver, we have a pretty darn good matchups, and we're going to start with Michael Thomas versus Atlanta in that barn burner of a game I just can't wait to see. I love when these two teams play each other. I especially love when it's in New Orleans, all the fans dressed up in their voodoo dolls and whatnot. It's great stuff. If they don't play Voodoo Child, then they're seriously missing out, but I'm pretty sure they do. Also have Chris Godwin taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Patrick Peterson is back, but he's mostly going to be focused on Mike Evans. So I think Chris Godwin is a great play this week. You also have my boy Keenan Allen, who we talked about earlier as a guy you should be trading for at Oakland this week. Oakland is soft as they come, maybe even softer than Sharman against the pass. Keenan Allen's going to have himself a week. Let's get into some guys that you should be sitting. Another guy I mentioned earlier, Odell Beckham Jr. against Tre'Davious White equals bad. Did you guys see the meme of Baker Mayfield after the game?
Uncle Buck.
Oh,
A
No,
good
it was
assessment.
no, it was the South Park one that was the worst.
Yeah, he did look like Randy. That's a pretty good point. But yeah, Odell Beckham is not someone you should be. Oh, I wonder if I can finally play No, not this week. Okay, Buffalo's tough against the pass. Don't do it. Another guy on Seattle's offense, thanks to San Francisco's defense being so tough, is Tyler Lockett. I'm sure he'll have a fine game. I'm sure it'll be a decent game, but maybe not a week winner like we saw against Tampa Bay this last week. And we're also going to have to temper our expectations for Mr. Stephon Diggs at Dallas. You have a game that's out of division. What have we talked about with Stephon Diggs? That silly little stat that when he's playing outside of the NFC North, his fantasy points per game decreased by 25%. So there you have it, guys. Those are my start sits for the week. Hope you guys enjoy. This is a very, very serious and yet enjoyable time of the fantasy football season when the trade deadline is approaching. I mean, I know there's plenty of people out there who hate to lose, maybe even as much as Kobe Bryant does. But you know what? When it's all said and done,
I
the
hate
game
losing
only
more than Kobe Bryant hates losing. Trust me. If me and Kobe Bryant were on the same court together, I might be very inclined to try to chop block his ass behind the Achilles heel just to make sure he's hobbled enough where I would be able to beat him. And then if that didn't work, I might stab him in the eye with my thumb.
All right, well, there you have it. You win the prize for hating losing the most. You did not lose that.
In NBA, if you try to stab someone in the eye, it's a technical foul.
Oh,
and
we're
probably
playing
eject you
street
from the
ball
game.
here, so it's like no holds
Oh,
barred.
no.
It's just like street fighting, man. Don't tell
Rooker
me
Park
those
don't even
rules.
allow that.
There ain't no rules. If you're bigger than me and you start getting to me where I feel like I'm fading and there's a brick by it, you better expect for me to hit you with it. And if you're surprised by that, don't be by a brick and be choking me out. Trust me.
Jay,
What?
tell me you saw Nate Diaz versus Masvidal.
I have a hard time watching that. Can you imagine me watching UFC? I used to go over to the UFCs when I was still fighting, and our jiu-jitsu coach, right, he would always host the UFC events. So we'd go up there, and by the time I had 4 beers in me and we were in by fight 2, I was like up pacing, wanting to fight the TV screen and everything else. It's not, it gets my blood flowing too much. I've seen, but look, I don't like the Diaz's attitude, but in the cage, oh man, they're beautiful human beings.
Well, do you want me to spoil it for you, or do you want to watch it on YouTube
go ahead.
later?
You can tell me. Go ahead.
Would you believe
saw
me
some
if I
pictures.
told you it ended by a cut over Nate Diaz's eye?
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. He's been cut, but here's the problem. You know how the NFL is like got too many referee problems? Fighters put too much into this shit. Trust me. We don't give a shit if we can't see out of one eye. You put so many thousands of hours, and then you got to go into to get to where he's at. You have even more time and blood and guts as an amateur put in. These referees need to back the frick off. I don't care. These medical doctors need to back off. Honest to God, I'm telling you guys as a former person, if I was a single man today and I could sneak a medical doctor to clear me with my neck injury, you best believe I'd get in a cage at my age. And it would be the most beautiful thing but you can't. I'm a realist. I can't do that. You just put too much. They wouldn't get in there, and they wouldn't continue to fight. There's guys that would quit. Guys like Diaz, nah, man. Nope. Sorry. No. I've seen him fight through stuff like that already, dude, if you've ever watched him fight. And I've watched him fight going way back in the day. No. Those dudes, nope. That cut, that blood in his eye, he wouldn't have cared. It's getting ridiculous. All these doctors and everybody's worried about it. When you're in that kind of a brutal sport, you're already too crazy, and you're off your chains as it is, dude. I'm not kidding you. Like, that cage is much smaller. Looking, once you're in there, there's nowhere to go.
No,
there's
that's
nowhere
fair.
to hide.
I just think the circumstances, like the consequences, are dire enough. Like you're thinking about enough as much as it is without blood stinging your eyeball.
Dude, have you ever done it? Have you ever trained? Have you ever competed? I'm telling you, if somebody's done it, competed, and went through the fear of the first fight, I had my arm popped and dislocated to the point where 3 days after the fight in the sling, I was at work and my arm was purple, and my employer said, dude, go to the hospital, called my mother-in-law, and he met me at the hospital, and they had to relocate my elbow because it was pinching off the huge artery that runs up the middle of your vein to the point. And I had been moving furniture for 3 days like that.
Oh, look, I understand.
And I finished the fight. That happened 47 seconds in. My fourth fight, I had the same thing happen to my other elbow, except for it didn't pop my elbow out, but it tore my ligament, and I finished that fight and won. I couldn't throw a punch except for spinning back fist. I had 14 cuts from elbows over the top of my head from the dude laying on top of me, just elbowing the crap out of me as hard as he could. Blood everywhere afterwards. I kicked him in the nuts by accident in the first round to the point where he was walking around for 2 hours with stuff on it, and he finished the fight. I'm telling you, dude. I am telling you. You're off the chains enough to get in there. That kind of crap, you get pissed. Now, there's certain people that won't do it, and that's fine. They're looking at long-term. They're looking business decision. I'm telling you, 95% of the guys, and especially guys like Nate Diaz, he's pissed as hell. He would have done that, and if he would have wanted to quit, he would have let you know when he was done.
For sure.
Letting these guys step in is ridiculous. No, there's too much on the line, too much put in. No way, man.
There's only so many times you can watch a guy wipe blood away from his eye before you think, you know what, that looks like a real disadvantage, him having to keep wiping blood.
See, that's the problem I'm trying to get to, though, dude. It's our bodies. It's that athlete's body. It's his body. You have no. Do you realize? Like, I'm telling you, that fight I just talked about, where I got hit upside the head. That's the one where I was talking with Ryan, where I tore my left pectoral muscle 3 weeks away from the fight. For 3 weeks, do you know what I prepared myself for? My entire team, all my coaches prepared me for? To be able to hold my arm like this and fight for 3 rounds, 9 minutes. That's what I was prepared to do. The week of the fight, it healed, and I was able to continue on. I was prepared to go in there and fight with one arm. I'm serious. Like, that's as an amateur making no money for it, man.
Well, exactly.
To get to the opportunity to be a pro. I'm telling you, dude. Like, if you've never done it, these referees, even the guys that are referees that have went on, they've gotten soft because they're getting paid and they're worried about a commission and all this. It's getting ridiculous. Referees need to step out. There's too much on the line. The fighters will let you know. That's why it's called tap out, knockout, or finish the fight. It's not called, now it's become, that guy's arm looks hurt. Let's call a fight. Oh, the doctor says this. The doctor says this. No, it's tap out, knockout, finish the fight. And you know what? You can tap out at any time. You don't even have to take contact. You can walk up, tap your shoulder. Pop, pop, pop. Oh, fight's over. That's as easy as that. Refs need to back off. Doctors need to back off.
How do you guys want to wrap this thing up?
Oh, we got to do our power rankings. It's Tuesday.
Oh, there we go.
You had me at hello.
Go ahead, Dave. We're going to do like we did last week with, we're just going to run down 5, then we'll do until the top 10, just 10 to 6, and then we'll do our top 5, right?
Yep. Hold on, I'm pulling mine up.
All right. I should just pull mine up on my phone so I got the records.
I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Sheriff.
We got all right, I got mine. What's going on, man?
All right, I'm up.
Yep.
All right, so we're starting off with every 4?
32 to 29.
All right, I am looking at the Bengals. Bengals are still number 32. They're got no wins. I just can't rock it anymore. Even the Dolphins got to win. So I mean,
Bro,
going
they're
to the
hot
Beng.
come